Today's guest is Sharon Huckle, who is a multi-passionate entrepreneur. She's a salon owner, boutique motel owner, and a business coach. She has been in business for 25 years in a variety of industries and shares her knowledge with other unstoppable stylists who want to build a business and style a life that they love. Sharon, thank you very much for being on. How are you doing today?
I am so great. And thanks for having me. This is a real pleasure.
You're very welcome. I'm super happy to have you on. You are actually the first stylist that I've had on the show. So, it's always good to be number one
Yeah,
in some ways.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, the first crazy, but there's lots more of us. We are a pretty crazy bunch, actually.
right. So just we'll ignore that part and
Crazy
just stick with the
fun.
stylist and
Fun,
like,
fun, crazy. Yeah.
it's people like us do things like us. So like
Yeah.
I'm very much in that boat
Take
as
those
well.
off. I'm getting a glare.
Yeah, so I'd love for you to give us a little bit more context. Like I read your bio or whatever. It seems like you're obviously multi passionate and do a lot of different things. So I'd love for you to just tell us, how you got to doing what you're doing and what is it that you're doing right now.
Well, I'm still doing a lot right now. That's the thing. I'm still a hairstylist. I still run a salon. I am also a boutique motel owner, but that was a big pivot because previous to that, my ex-husband and I were in the food industry. So we had a big catering operation, food trucks. We had our own artisan ice cream company where we made ice cream, restaurants, like multi things that we had spanned and grown and evolved over 25 years. And in addition to that, I did the salon. And unfortunately, while I loved him dearly, did have some mental health and addiction issues that eventually just caused a collapse in our relationship. And we had undergone, leading up to 2019, undergone a tremendous amount of stress in our business, in our lives, like life or death kind of situations, even involving our kids and our parents, and lots of illness, and he just was not coping well, and it created a lot of problems. And then when I fell apart, the whole thing sort of collapsed. um and I had to call an end to our marriage, which I didn't really want to do because I loved him dearly, and I still do. I have um I have a million reasons why I could be angry with him, but I can't be bothered. There's too much love there. So but he did, he left us, and I have two sons, and they were ready for him to go at that point. And so I had to rebuild. I had to shut down the other businesses. I had to start, like, pivot, because we owned three big heritage buildings, that all the bills still needed to be paid, and I still had my salon to run. And the salon ended up being a real salvation for me because I had to keep showing up for people even when I didn't feel like it. Like, I mean, I still had to do my hair, do my makeup, and show up and serve people. But that helped me get through some really, really tough times. And then sort of felt like things were kind of rocking along. And then COVID happened. And salon was shut down for 8 months in total. And so was the motel. So this brand new business that I was about to launch in April of like April 1st, it was supposed to open up, was immediately shut down in March of 2020. And I had already started to pivot towards the coaching, knowing I had 25 years experience, but was so busy with these renovations and stuff that I still had this failure to launch all of this. And even during COVID, where I had more time, I found myself on a bit of a rabbit hole and a hamster wheel, going down internet, tripping things, and consuming a lot, learning a lot. But truthfully, that was all the bandwidth I had. Like, I wasn't quite ready to put myself out there because I was so vulnerable at that time. So I built a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I learned a ton of stuff. But I'm still having a bit of a failure to launch because I just finished renovating the fourth unit of the motel, like literally this week. Just opened up the last long weekend we just had there, May 24th weekend. And so it's been very, like, I don't have a whole lot of time in my day because I still work in the salon full time. The motel is also very time consuming, and the coaching is where I see my future going. But it's just trying to fit it in the nooks and crannies, those really tight little nooks and crannies of my life, because I know I have a lot to share, and I want to share that. And also, like, the whole idea of COVID and, brick and mortar, the overhead is like crazy. And COVID, like I went from March of 2020 thinking I was going to go bankrupt and lose everything that I'd worked for in 25 years. Um, and luckily, the whole idea of being the unstoppable stylist, I just got scrappy and I got resourceful. And thankfully, the government sort of stepped in and offered a lot of loans. And I took those loans and I used them. I invested them and I renovated and I used every minute I had really wisely. And I mean, luckily my kids are big; they're 18 and 22, and they're a big help to their mama. So it was good. I mean, it was a good project to throw ourselves into while we were nursing these like terribly broken hearts and the big blow of, our family business shutting down. So, yeah, it was a big, big, crazy journey. And like, that's just hitting like the tip of the iceberg of all the went down. But we're coming out on the other side. And so now is when I really feel like, okay, I've kind of stabilized myself. And now I can really be of service to people beyond my salon and my motel, beyond my brick and mortars, to reach a wider audience. So that's part of the reason why I put myself up to this today.
That's well, first of all, thank you very much for sharing, because it is such a big story, right? And it's a very it's a recent story, right? Like it's the last 2 years. I've just seen the stability of it right now, so it's still relatively fresh, right? It's like the ripples haven't fully,
No,
ceased, and
because
the
even
waters aren't calm, right?
yes, because even disentangling yourself, even though we parted amicably, he signed everything over to me. Basically, I took on all the debt, all the responsibility, and he just walked away. And that's what he needed to do for his mental health, and that's what we needed him to do for our mental health. That was a lot for me to shoulder, but I felt like I was in a better position to just take that on. And then, of course, COVID hit, so I'm like, now I'm in more debt than I've ever been in my life. I'm like, oh, what the hell, right? At this point, you're just like, it's okay. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. And I'm figuring it out. And so I feel really good that my kids are seeing me as someone who didn't fall apart completely. I mean, I had days, I had moments, but even during COVID, when things got really, really scary, right? Especially before the government said they were going to step in and help small businesses, because usually when you're a small business owner, you're on your own, right? There's no unemployment insurance, right? So it was scary. And luckily we made it out on the other side. And so I feel like I've got some good lessons for other people. And I'm still learning lots myself. And I'm not afraid, at 49 and 25 years into multiple industries, I'm not afraid to put myself out there and, make a fool of myself. Because if you don't do it, you don't try. There's lots of people who talk the talk, but they never walk the walk. So I have been putting one foot in front of the other, slowly but surely getting where I want to go. And yes, there's been a million hiccups, like God, so many hiccups, but you just don't focus on that. You just like, I'm very good at handling stress now, because I feel like a lot of it, I'm not going to say I've seen the worst of it, because I certainly have not. I know people go through some terrible stresses, but I've been through a lot, and there's not too much besides the dialogue I have in my own head that can get me down. So you just got to keep that mind sharp and stay positive and laugh a lot, right?
So if then, like, just to kind of bring it back to the present, then, if you could like verbalize, like, what are the business problems that you are experiencing right now?
Focus is a big one for me. Like just picking the thing. And it's, I say that I struggle with it, but it's almost impossible, right? Because I don't. And I think what I want to do is actually blend everything together. So I've got this, fabulous little salon. I've got these 4 units of this, these beautiful, really eclectic boutique motel. Like they're all like 2-bedroom or studio size apartments, basically furnished, and they're gorgeous. They've got lots of character because they're in heritage buildings. But I'm thinking, okay, I could have retreats there, right? Everyone could come, they could stay there, they could hang out in the salon, we could do some branding. Like, so it's pulling all these like fragments that are up here still and just like reining it in, because I'm a doer, but I'm so the visionary. Like I've got like Pinterest boards for everything.
Got it.
And sometimes it's like it's a blessing, and other times it's like a total curse. It's like, Sharon. So like some days I feel like I need someone to grab grab my head and say, Sharon, like focus. So that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to
Okay.
do. I was up early this morning just saying, Sharon, just pick one thing. Just one thing. Like, are you going to start a podcast? Are you going to do a course? Are you going to do a group coaching program? Are you going to do consulting? Are you going to do, like one-on-one coaching? Just pick one thing. And I didn't come to any answers this moment. And I think sometimes too, I find it hard to quiet the noise inside my head, right? And to stop comparing myself to people on social media. Like, oh my God, I'm still at 49. I'm still like this little young teenager comparing myself to people who are doing the things I want to do, and they did it faster, or they did it. And my partner now, he's always reassuring me that, Sharon, you got a lot on your plate. Like, give yourself a little grace. But I tend to be a bit of a hard taskmaster.
Got it. So if we go back to the focusing, so picking the thing, right? You said that that was almost impossible. So what makes it so impossible for you?
Well, because one thing always seems to lead to the other, right? So, and you need the lead generation, right? When you said that about your podcast, because I did a program where I started a podcast, and it was just more to practice, and but it was right when my marriage was falling apart. So I just did it kind of in quiet, right? But just to practice. But I want to get that started again. But then you're just like, oh my God, when am I going to have time to do this and that? Like, I don't have spare time. I don't even have a quiet place in my house to do that. And so what I'm doing is trying to build this little studio space in the last spot that I have to renovate, which is our old kitchen. So it's happening, right? So sometimes I think it's just a matter of, Sharon, just have a little patience, and figuring out the one thing that I can do. And just before getting on your this meeting here, I was watching something about just doing consultations. So not getting into the big long coaching programs or anything like that, but just that one-on-one, because I've always been good with the one-on-one because I have people in my chair. I've been doing that for so many years. But getting in and just saying, look, what is your thing that you need to focus on? Give me 90 minutes and let's just get you to the next right step. Right. So I actually think, oh, that would be actually a really good first step for me. Just to, like, that's probably all the attention span I have, not to get into a 90-day coaching program with somebody when I don't have that snippet. But I really feel like that might be the thing you could be effective with, Sharon, if you had these sort of, almost like what you're doing now. Have this coaching or consulting, not even so much coaching, but consulting with people.
So in that case, so my question was like, okay, well, what is so impossible about
I didn't
picking
answer that. There's
one
where the
thing?
brain starts.
Right. And where your brain went to was basically three different tactics. I should start a
Oh yeah.
podcast, I should do consulting, and I can't remember whatever the third one was. So
It's
what
maddening me in my brain.
if you so okay, we're gonna actually make another request of you. Um I want you to speak in
This is where you
single
grab my face.
sentences.
Okay.
Yeah. So
My husband used to say this
yeah,
all the time. He's like, just ask one question. Don't say, do you want to do this or this? He's just ask one question.
correct.
He would just go sure or yes or whatever. I'm like, okay,
Correct.
I'll try. I'm gonna try really hard.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, so when I say single sentences, like I'm talking sentences that if you had like a small journal in front of you, you would answer in only one line.
Okay.
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 So with that in mind, what's so impossible about focusing to pick the one thing?
There's so many shiny objects out there. I
Perfect.
want
That's
to do
one
all the things.
sentence.
I want to do all the things.
Okay.
Mhm.
What's so impossible about doing one thing?
I want to do all the things.
And if you don't do all the things, then fill in the blank.
I know I can't do all the things.
Okay. But the question
That's
is,
what's
if I
impossible.
don't do all
That's
the
what's impossible.
things, then fill in the blank.
If I don't do all the things, then I might actually get somewhere with this.
Okay. I might actually get somewhere. What's so
Yeah.
scary about getting somewhere?
That is so scary about getting somewhere. This is where I don't know because I have done really scary things. I don't know what's scary about
So
that.
you've done a lot of scary things due to circumstance or conscious intent.
I would say conscious intent. Opening restaurants, it's one of the scariest businesses ever. And we've had a few.
100%.
Yeah. So just brick and mortar in general, right? There's a lot of risk there. So yeah, I've done scary things. So I don't know. This is why I was so curious about your format because I know you're going to dig a little deeper. You're
I
going to dig.
definitely am, yes. And also I'm gonna just preface this ahead of time. Um, I am gonna interrupt you. I'm gonna lovingly interrupt you, not because I don't want to hear what you
Oh,
say. I want to discount
no,
it.
please.
Um, More because as you have self-identified, your brain has the propensity to go in 10 different directions, right? And ironically
Yeah.
or not ironically, we're talking about focus. So I'm gonna just let you know I will interrupt from here, like from time to time, just so that we can stay on focus. So are you okay with that?
Oh, 100%, please.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Won't be
So
offended.
you have done a lot of things that are scary. Have
Mhm.
you done a lot of things that are stable?
Oh yeah, I have. Like, I mean, I live in the house I grew up in, right? I mean, I got married in the backyard. I had both my kids at home. That was scary, having both my kids at home. But I come from actually a very stable family. Like my parents are wonderful. I have amazing siblings. Um, Hairdressing is a very stable career for me. Even, I mean, the restaurant was a little more unstable, but not really. We had a good thing going there. We expanded when the time was right into other things. Um,
Okay, so let's look at a different
my
way.
marriage, not so much, but
Are you more comfortable in stability or in chaos? Or a lot of
I
things changing?
mm,
Let's just say intensity or however
yeah, I
you
always say nobody loves change like a hairdresser, right? That's one of my lines. Um, I have lived in chaos for 25 years with my ex,
Mhm.
but and I learned to manage that. Now that I'm in a more stable environment, um, life is calmer and I'm enjoying that. So I'm not looking to create chaos. So I think that might even be a little bit of my trepidation, I guess you could say, because I'm like, okay, I know I have a lot on my plate, and I've always wanted to do a really good job, right? I am committed to that. So not piling so much on my plate where I feel like I can't commit, I can't give people what they are paying for. Um, I think that holds me back a little bit. Because only so much time in the day, right? And you have only so much, even if you're capable of doing something, you don't always have the capacity to do it. And I have to
Yep.
recognize that in myself, right? Um, but I think I think I'm getting every day, I feel like I'm getting closer to that really solid foundation that I can open up the Unstoppable Stylist and get it going. It's a lot of moving parts though, as you know. With online, it's not as simple as just
It's a lot of moving parts with
here.
just one business, right? But to do three, I mean, it's a whole different kind of beast.
Yeah.
So it needs acknowledgement because it's not a small feat by any means. Um, so going back to the original question, then, so
Mhm.
where
What's
do you think you'd be more comfortable? Is it in stability and calm, or is it in some type of constant change, constant intensity, constant uncertainty? Where are you, let's just say, more familiar?
oh, I'm more familiar in constant change.
Okay.
And I like that energy, but I don't want it to be like negative energy. Like even the word unstoppable, right? Coming from it can mean two totally different things if it's coming from a different energy, right? You can mean, oh my God, I'm on this hamster wheel, I can't get off, it's unrelenting, blah, blah, blah. That's unstoppable as much as I can do this. I got this. I can keep going. Nothing's going to stop me. I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling powerful. Right. So it's whether you're in kind of your wounded state or your creative state. And I like to hang out here. I'm very creative. Right. I like to hang out here on the creative side of things. Right. I like, even when all these horrible things were happening to me, people are like, oh my God, don't you get depressed? And I'm like, I tried it once and I did not like it. Just, I don't want to be down there. Like if I wallow too much, I can't even handle being around myself.
Okay,
Never mind
perfect.
expecting
So I'm just gonna
anybody else.
pause you right there, right? Like the loving interruption, right?
There we go.
Um, so right, the question was, okay, am I more familiar with stability or am I more familiar with constant change, right? And it seems to be leaning towards constant change. So
I
yes,
want stability though. I have had stability in my life and I enjoy that.
okay.
In
So
this
I
new
understand the
relationship.
desire, right? The desire is there 100%. Like that part, I don't doubt at all. I think it's pretty clear.
Mhm.
Um, but the question is more towards, okay, well, what are you more familiar with? What do you experience more of on a regular basis? And it seems like it's uncertainty, constant change, hamster wheel, etc.
Yeah. That's life, really. So I mean, I think it's sort of behooves you to get good at handling that.
Yeah, and I agree.
I don't
It's
want
just
to
kind of
invite
why I
it in
started. Like,
though.
was it the circumstance? Was it the choice? It seems to be a combination of both. That's totally
Yeah.
fine, right? Like how we got here is secondary to what you're experiencing right now.
Yeah.
Because right now it's I have like it's not that I have trouble focusing or picking one thing, right? The statement was it's impossible,
Right. That was a
right?
big, big word.
It is a huge word, right? So the possibility of the reality where I am focused does not actually exist as a default that just splurts out of my mouth,
Right.
right? So it's operating faster than you are actually viewing it and observing it, right? Which is very
Right.
relevant,
Right.
because it means that's the lens through which you make the decisions you make, which tend to be rooted in the familiarity of uncertainty, i.e., the more actions I take in this way through this lens, the more it actually gives me the feedback that no, it is impossible for me to have any sort of focus or stability because look at my life,
Yeah.
right? But the
Yeah.
very thing that's perpetuating it is this lens that it's actually impossible for me to have stability, to have one thing, to know what it is that I want, and to go all in to get it. So before I go on, does that resonate with you?
Yeah. It totally resonates with me. Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
mean,
in
I am
single
an all in kind
sentences,
of person, but
yeah.
I
And
haven't gone all in on this.
that's
Yeah.
fair. And I think there's a lot of gifts in that as well. Like I know I'm kind of nitpicking at it right now, but there is
Right.
a tremendous gift and strength to being able to navigate that kind of intensity, that kind of uncertainty. So I know I'm nitpicking at it, but I just want to acknowledge that the flip side of that coin is also extremely positive. So this is not a matter of do I shun one area or the other? It is how do I combine it so that I move closer to what it is that I actually want. So does that part make sense?
Oh, 100%. I'm not easily offended. And I pretty much just have decided to take everything as a compliment in my life. So you're
Good
not going to
strategy. Yeah.
upset me too much, Josh.
Okay. All good.
You're really not. Like,
Perfect. So then,
I'll get vulnerable for you, but I'm like, I'm pretty good. Pretty good.
so in that case, if you were to go back to the whole focus bit, if I were to choose one thing, then fill in the blank.
If I were to, okay. So if I were to choose one, like one business to
So if
focus,
I were to only focus, like I were to sell everything brick and mortar and only focus on
how we're
the
selling.
online thing, and I'm just
Okay.
saying it as a hypothetical. I
Okay.
have zero
It's
interest
part of
in
the plan.
hearing. Yeah,
Okay.
but
It is
tomorrow I talk to a lawyer. I
tomorrow.
say I'm going to sell all my brick and mortars and make a choice, decide to focus only on the unstoppable stylist. What does that mean about you?
That is interesting because I mean, I've been at that crossroads a number of times, right? And I've chosen to proceed with the other two businesses because they're more tangible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, what does that mean about me? I mean, I feel like maybe I just haven't gone all in with the unstoppable stylist because maybe I'm craving the stability of the salon, right? Those brick and mortar business, there's something solid about a brick and mortar business, right? Um, Even though there's a million challenges.
But even before the online was an option, you still had multiple businesses with the catering, with, so
Yeah,
you're always spinning at least 3 different plates all the time.
yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of the same question. If I chose one and cut off the others, then what does that mean about me?
Now, are you looking to say like, I want, when you say that, what does it say about me? Are you saying like, how do I see myself in that?
So I'm
Do it like,
saying,
I don't, it's part of the plan, okay, to do
okay,
that, because online, the online portion of my business is my future. That's the way I see my future. And I'm trying to build that so that I
mhm.
can eventually sell the other ones. And I'm trying to build up the salon to be a certain way and the motel to be a certain way so that's turnkey. And I can just hand it over to somebody as a viable business in these beautiful buildings.
Which
Because
strategy wise,
they're
that's a
more
beautiful
valuable.
strategy. And that absolutely makes sense and sounds great.
Yeah.
It doesn't answer the question. What does it mean about you to cut off everything but one? Because it could even be historical. Like you had catering, you
Right.
had restaurants, you had salon. What does it
Yeah.
mean about you to
I don't
focus
know
on
if I
one?
would feel, I mean, I guess if you're trying to dig down deep, and I mean, I guess from that way, I would feel a little like there was a part of me missing, and maybe I'm just not quite there yet, right?
Okay.
To cut
What's
that off.
what's
Like
missing?
the thought of not even being behind the chair and having my clients and stuff like that is scary to me. Like the not scary, that's probably not the right word, but um like the motel, I'm not as attached to, right? It wasn't really my dream to open a motel. That was the idea that I had to be able to pivot and keep the buildings and maintain all the things that I'd worked so hard for all that years. I was hanging on, right? The salon, like I'm not that typical, 9 to 5er in a cubicle who hates their job and can't wait to get out, blah, blah, blah. I love my job. Like I always say, I have the best job. I get to chit chat and play with people's hair all day. Like it's pretty great. And I have some clients I've been doing for 25. I have lots of clients I've been doing for 25 years. We have a riot. I've been with them through all their special moments. So it's translating that, taking that feeling and translating it to the coaching, which isn't quite as high touch, right? And even with, I'm going to give it a long-winded answer here, but even when I got into like online dating and you learn about the love languages and stuff like that, for me, one of my top ones is physical touch. Like I don't, gifts is way down low, but I like the physical touch, the words of affirmation, then maybe quality time and acts of service. Like, I mean, they're all nice, right? But physical touch is probably my number one. And I'm always need to be close to people. And that's why COVID was so hard for me, because I was isolated. Like I have my kids at home, but they were working. So I was spending a lot of time in my own head. And it got like, I missed seeing people. So sometimes I think that might be scaring me a little bit, just like being somebody who just works in an office, home alone, isn't in contact with people. And that's why the live events still appeal to me, right? Because I
Okay.
am a people person to my core. I need bodies in the building, right? Um, I
So
like,
that makes sense. And I get, and it's a valid concern. And yeah, again, it comes back to strategy. Like you could have a lot of components of your business that are live in addition to the online, but it doesn't really answer the core bit of like, what does it mean about
answer the
me
question here.
if I have to? So like to give, okay, let's just give a little bit additional context, right? So the way that I define focus in my coaching, because we have like a whole bunch of modules on focus, it is saying no to everything that doesn't align with what it is that I want. So focus is not about like how many things can I say yes to? It's actually about how many things can I say no to that doesn't align with what it is that I actually want. So when you come here and say, okay, well, I can't focus, it's impossible, right? To me, that's an indicator. Number one, do you actually know what it is that you want?
Mhm.
And if you do, and you say it's okay, so I actually want one thing, so we can test if that's
Um,
true or not.
And
And I
I
think,
don't just want one thing. That's the thing about me. I
okay, fair enough. So
want
that's good
all
to
the
know,
things.
right? I don't just
Yeah.
want one thing. Cool. If you had to cut something out though, because this was a pattern even before, like
Hmm.
another way, how does it feel in your body if you think about cutting out one thing? Like what
I
sensation do
mean,
you experience?
I think about it all the time, but I think
So
there's,
not think, what do you feel?
what do I feel? Well, part of me feels relief, and
Okay,
part
so
of
that's
me
interesting.
feels like I'm missing out. There's that old FOMO, right?
So
Um,
if I cut out parts of my business or business says, there's a fear of missing out. Accurate?
yes. And I
Okay.
think people will miss me too,
So,
right?
okay, fair. What
Yeah.
are you
Guilt.
missing out on? What's the fear of? What are you going to miss?
I think that one-on-one, because I like that. I've always really liked that. And through the screen, it's not quite the same as when you've got your hands in someone's hair,
Fair.
right?
So,
Um,
but I mean, that's one business, which is you're cutting hair.
yeah.
The other one is owning a motel and, things that don't sound like you have as much direct.
No, because a lot of the motel is very automated. Like I've set that up. This is my first exercise in more passive
Okay,
income
great.
because I don't have to tuck
So
people into bed,
then you're
right?
not really missing the touch and the connection there.
No, no, which
Okay.
is why it's easier to give up, right? Like if I was going to sell one business first, it'd be the motel, right?
Okay.
Even though they're kind of linked, but that would be the one because it wasn't my dream. Like whereas hairstyling is still something I love. And obviously the Unstoppable Stylist is a coaching business for hairstylists, right?
100%.
Yeah.
So going
So
back to you and your internal world, what is it that you're missing out? If you make a hypothetical cut of one of the business, I'm not saying make a choice today. I'm saying hypothetically, you cut the hotels.
in a negative, if I cut the motel,
So
just the
hypothetically,
motel. Okay,
cut the
hypothetically, if I
hotel.
cut the motel,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
What's the fear of missing out? What are you missing out?
the revenue for starters.
Okay. What are you missing out
I,
as Sharon?
um, I kind of like being a serial entrepreneur, right?
Why?
I like having, I don't know, maybe it's just like bragging rights or something.
So significant.
I like having lots going on.
If you had a
I
home
like
run,
handling a
so
lot
if you
going
had a home run with one business that outshone all the other ones, how would
on.
you feel?
Oh, I would love that. I mean, I would because there's there's lots about the laptop lifestyle that appeal to me, right? The idea of travel, the
So
idea of
what if
not
the motel was the runaway business?
I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think that's gonna be it.
Hypothetically, if it was.
um,
And I want you to not think about the
then I'm
answer.
gonna
I
sell
want
it
you to,
for a really high price.
so
The
okay.
motel is way easier for me to just let go,
Okay,
right?
perfect. So I'm gonna add one more layer to this.
Mhm.
Your answers are actually very good intellectually. Like they're sound in strategy. It makes sense on the vision. You know what the outcome needs to be.
Yeah.
What they're always pointing to is either the second person, like this ought to be the way things are. People should do this. It's the right choice, or they're very strategic in answer. Like this just makes
Right.
sense to do. Most of your answers and where your brain doesn't like to go to is what
How would
does
I
this feel
feel?
like? What is significance about me? Because you said yourself, part of taking out one of these is actually going to have me fear that I won't be known as a serial entrepreneur, of which being a serial entrepreneur gives me a lot of significance to be like, look at how many plates I'm juggling. Okay.
Mhm.
That says something about you. Like my identity is rooted in being the person that can hold a whole
Yeah.
lot of chaotic businesses.
Accused of being a martyr in my past.
Not surprising. Okay. Not
Yeah.
surprising, right?
Yeah.
I get significant out of handling more bullshit than most people can handle on a good
Yeah,
day.
and that was actually a bone of contention as my marriage collapsed, right? Because everything that I felt like I was doing to help the business, he ended up resenting, right? Because I could do it all. Like interestingly enough, and no discredit to him, he was a very hard worker, but I could do everything in his business. He couldn't even book an appointment in mine. Right. And it wasn't that I didn't give him control over it. He could have, he just wasn't interested in salon stuff. Like he'd come over and, change light bulbs or do something like, do work or whatever, but he never got involved in the day-to-day operations where I did. I cooked, I bartended, I did the websites, I did the, anything he asked me to do, I said yes.
Yeah.
And
You get a lot of significance and also like a lot of ego out of it. Like look at all, like I can handle it all, right?
yeah,
There's a lot, like I guess it's another
that's an
aspect
annoying part of
of
me.
significance, right?
Now that you pointed out, I'm like, why am I like that? It's
Well,
ridiculous.
that's kind of the part that I'm digging into, right?
I
Because
know.
you
I knew
started
you're
this
gonna
whole
do
thing
this.
saying like, okay, well, I have a hard time picking one thing. If you were to pick one thing, that is an absolute destruction of the most significant part of your identity, which is I handle it all, I do it all, and this is what I'm seen and witnessed for.
Yeah.
So it's
So
not about
I shouldn't
making,
pick one bloody thing, is what you're saying.
well,
Just keep it, stay in the chaos, Sharon.
that's completely up
That's
to
my
you, right?
advice.
If you enjoy this and you want to stay here, then you actually have the perfect recipe to
Thank
be
you.
here.
That's so freeing. That is
Absolutely. Like it's not up to me to decide how you're going to live your life, right? I'm just more picking off of like you say you want stability, you say you want to focus on one thing, but then there is a very real and it holds on extremely tight, almost in a frantic sense, right? That's why I asked you to speak in one sentences, right? Because it's like, but like it's just all over the place, but it's so frantic because it's so ingrained that like
yeah.
my significance, my identity, who it is to the core of how I express my like engagement with the world is somebody who juggles more on their worst day than most people can on their best day, right? So
Oh, yes, astute. Yeah, because I was even
yeah.
like this in high school. Like in grade 13, I mean, it was on a roll. I had 3 jobs. Like every Saturday, I started one job, then went to the next, then went to the next. Like I worked from 8 in the morning till 2 in the like in the morning, right? And I loved it. I loved the energy of it, right? I liked the change. I always used to say, like, one of my lines is, "Oh, change is as good as a rest." And I do brag about how I don't need much sleep. I like,
Yeah.
oh, and I like, there's all this negativity around the hustle culture, but I would not have what I did and what I have now if I didn't hustle. Like I like picking up from my bootstraps and making things happen. And I
Then
always joke, so there's that thing about champagne taste on a beer budget. Well, I'm like, I got champagne taste on a tap water budget. I'm just gonna make it happen. Right. And I think I really like the admiration that people like, how are you doing all this? And you got a lot on your plate. And I'm like, I'm good. And not, it's not too often where that stresses me out, having too much on my plate. That's not the stuff that stresses me out. When I feel most defeated, I think is when I'm not, all my efforts are going unnoticed, right? I like those words right after physical touch is words of affirmation. I need all the attaboys. I like that.
so if you
So
never got any words of affirmation for the 10 different plates you're juggling in any one moment, would you still juggle the plates?
it's a tough question. Oh, probably. Probably. It is just who I am. And you really did hit the nail on the head there.
Okay, so the question is
But
why?
again,
Why
seeing
would
it
you
at
do
that
it
point.
if nobody actually noticed, validated you, or commented it on? Why would you continue to juggle 10 plates?
Because I do thrive in that creative side of things, right? Like even when I make art, right? I like the mixed media stuff, like the multi. I like a lot. I do like a lot of stuff going on, right? And I have a very full social life as well. Lots of friends, not I don't I'm not that person who just picks one friend. I like all the friends, right? I like having parties and like inviting lots of people over. So I guess I just really I like the chaos that's not negative chaos. I like
Got it.
the high energy.
Then to bring it back to the beginning, why focus?
Good question.
Like why
Because I feel like
is like I
I
should
feel
pick
like that's
one
what I
thing, a narrative that's actually not in line with your personality or who you are being or how you want to express yourself, or are they actually like are is the narrative I should do that at odds with your authentic expression, or is your authentic expression distorted and it's coming out through the question of I should focus on something?
I think just because a lot I get that advice a lot, right? And that I should focus, right? And I think I thought that not focusing was a bit negative. And I think you're right, that just doesn't jive with who I am.
So
And I
when
wasn't giving
you
myself permission to just do all the things.
100%. So to flip the script then, instead of having to like, okay, I gotta cut out one business and focus is about saying no to things I don't want. If you unapologetically kept everything going, how does that feel in your body?
That feels better, honestly, to me.
Okay, so
That
define better. What would be the emotion? Because it was fear of missing out before. So it was like a fear kind of constriction emotion.
yeah,
What does this feel like now to like I don't have to focus
that
at
feels
all?
exciting. That feels
Okay.
exciting to me. Yeah. That feels fun. That feels comfortable. That feels more like where I'm naturally wanting to hang out, right? In that busy. I don't mind being busy, and my kids give me shit sometimes for it. Like, Mom, you don't have to be 100% productive 100% of the time, right?
Yep.
But I like that, and they like it too, honestly. Like when I get them up and get them doing stuff, they don't want to be sloths on the couch either. They prefer it when they see a job well done. They see the fruits of their labor, and they're both really hardworking kids, which I like. And that whole idea that working hard is negative, that doesn't resonate with me. I
Yep.
like to work hard. I don't want to work like to kill myself. I still want to have a really good life too. Is I kind of more that work hard, play hard. Um, but I think that's why we started businesses and started fun kind of businesses. And we didn't resent working when everybody else was playing. We were part of the fun, when we were at weddings, catering and stuff like that, or having people into our restaurant. We got to be part of the fun and the salon. It's a very fun environment. So I've made my work play, and I want to be able to do that still with the Unstoppable Stylist and figuring out what that looks like to me.
So I think that's kind of at the crux of it. It's not it's letting the narrative align with your natural disposition. If you love to be busy and you get energized by the fact that you're spinning 10 plates, then just because the narrative is no, you should, do self-care and you should focus and you should go all in on one thing. If it's against your natural disposition, you should actually do the opposite. Like you should allow yourself the unapologetic permission to be like, no, this is where I thrive. I like this. This is how I find fulfillment. Let me go all in on spinning 10 different plates. And then when the time is right to get rid of one and replace it with another, I will do that.
I love that. I really love that because yeah, I hadn't really, I was feeling like guilt or conflicted by that, right? Because I'm like, Sharon, why can't you just focus? And you start to see a lot online about ADHD right now, and you're just like, oh, let me.
Yep.
But I don't care if it's me. That is just me, right?
Yeah,
So
because it's about
yeah,
harnessing that towards what it is that you actually want. And if you want to spin all those plates, you want to have three businesses you're running at the same time, as what you authentically want, then do it, right? Like then it's a
yeah.
matter of how do I maximize that as opposed to try play a game that has nothing to do with who it is I fundamentally am.
Yeah, I think that's really great. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
There.
It's
Just came up.
took a little roundabout way to get there, but I think we got to where we needed to be.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you. You didn't even make me cry yet, so
That's okay. You can celebrate this one. You don't necessarily have to cry about it. So it's all good.
yeah, I actually don't really enjoy crying. I know some people really find that cathartic, but I just like, oh, ruins
That
my
is
makeup.
fair. So then just to kind of move us into closing, like, does that feel complete for you? Or is there still something left outstanding?
No, I think that it's quite a lovely way to finish up because um, I feel like just in that one, I don't know. I guess this is why you're good at what you do, right? In that one little half hour or whatever we've gone here, hour almost, um, you nailed it. You nailed it. You went right to the hot button
So
and you got it.
if you could summarize it then in your own words, like, what is the biggest takeaway? What is the biggest aha moment?
That I was not giving myself permission to be my full self, which is a bit of a wild child in terms of reining things in. I like to go big, and I don't, that shouldn't be a bad thing. None of these things I want are bad things. They're all good things. And so why can't I have it all?
100%.
Yeah. Doing
Beautiful.
all, I'm doing all the damn things. That's it.
Do it
Thank
unapologetically,
you.
full tilt, go
Unapologetically.
100K an hour, you know what I mean? Like in each direction. And that's okay. All right, perfect. Well, in that case, the floor is yours to just let everybody know where to find you, who's the best person to find you. Let us know.
Well, the unstoppablestylist.com is my website. It's my handle. I'm on Instagram at the Unstoppable Stylist, and I help stylists move forward in their business and style a life they love. So not just work, not just play, blending the two seamlessly together, just like we did here today.
Right. And
Thank
who
you
better
so
to do
much.
it than somebody that can juggle 10 different things at once? Right.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
that's it.
I can show you. I've done it all. I've already done it all. Like, if there's anything in your business you want to do, trust me, I've more than likely already done it and am still doing it. That's the other thing that's kind of cool is I am still in the thick of it with you. So I get it. I get all the trials and tribulations, been there, done that, and I'm still having lots of fun. 25 years in, I still love my job, still love my
Beautiful.
career.
Love it. Well, I mean, in that case, yeah, we'll put all of that in the show notes as always. And then for everybody listening, yeah, you can wait for my post call recap. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next one.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you
Thank you.
so much,
Likewise.
Jessica.
You're very
Have a
welcome.
great day.